and welcome to Season 1, Episode 4 of the Fever Dreams podcast. We are recording this live on the 12th of October 2020. And I have my co-host, Lifesaver, with me. Hello, Life.
Hello, hello.
And we have some special guests. And if you haven't seen that already, we have Aben from Synth Riders. Hello, Aben.
Hey,
and we have Wirrel from Synth Riders as well. Greetings, Wirrel. Hi.
Hello.
So, ladies first, how are you doing?
Good. It's early.
Yeah, due to time zones, we had to shift this a little bit. Normally, we would record that. We would have recorded that yesterday, but we are flexible on that. And later, the podcast or the vodcast even will be available on our YouTube channel. And that's why we are flexible on the recording time. So, and Aben?
The sun has come up. It's great.
Aben, how are you doing?
That's great.
I think for you it's afternoon, right, Aben?
It is. It's 1 p.m. here.
Yeah. For me, it's in the evening. For Life, it's also in the afternoon, right?
Great.
Yeah, I think you are just a few 2 hours difference between you two.
2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not that much. Okay, that's fine. Right on. Yeah. So we start talking about a little bit VR stuff, especially gaming stuff, and just to get into the mood here. So, for example, Aben, what have you been playing lately? It must not be only VR, but Pancake is fine as well.
I have VR and non-VR.
Yeah, just
so
all the games.
VR, the latest one that I was playing was Star Wars Squadron. And non-VR, Cloudpunk.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of nice. It's a very cyberpunk style game.
Cyberpunk is cool. Yeah, how's Star Wars Squadrons? Did you play that in VR?
It was amazing. Yeah, I played it in VR. It's amazing. I don't have the controller. I mean, the joystick and stuff. I play with my keyboard and the mouse, but getting better.
Yeah, I just read about when people are rating the game on Steam that has a mixed ratings, and people were complaining about the controls, especially I think the keyboard and mouse controls in VR. But
yeah, it's a little bit tricky.
It's tricky, okay. And I've seen people playing that with HOTAS, so with joystick and hands-on throttle and stick stuff. But that must be pretty awesome, especially as when you're having that seated experience, that you don't have to look at the keys. Because what's tricky in Star Wars Squadrons with playing with a keyboard is you have to look at the keys at some point, because I guess you cannot find them blind or so.
You have to remind where you put your hand. So pretty much like there's not many things you can do. But if you have like some like free time, so you can just have a look at the keys again.
Okay, sure, yeah, that's tricky.
They're in the right spot.
That's very tricky. And that's why a joystick is, of course, much better, because you don't have to take your hand off the joystick and stuff. Yeah, okay, that's cool. And Wirrel, what have you been playing?
Well, probably the most recent thing I played through Pancake was revisiting Untitled Goose Game in multiplayer. So played that over Parsec, and that worked surprisingly well. That was really good. Myself and a friend from Vegas played through the whole story of that in one sitting, which was really good. And the other thing is checking out the Autumn Steam Game Festival. A lot of demos are out.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So played through things like demos of Ragnarok, Groove Gunner, virtual line dancing virtual. Oh my God, I had so much fun with that. It was hysterical.
Okay.
And what was that? 1, 2, 3. Oh, and the singularity effect. Just a few of these demos. It's a really good time to pick up demos. And one of the other demos I played, Pancake, is a game called Nuts, which is about squirrels. Yay! I was so happy. Really interesting gameplay mechanic. You're placing cameras. Essentially, you're a wildlife researcher, and you're placing cameras around a forest overnight and watching. You got to capture the squirrels on your cameras and work out where they're going. really cool, really nice little gameplay loop, and there's certainly some intrigue there. So I've wish listed that one. I'm in. It's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what I've been up to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because with this is the second festival Steam is doing. They had the Steam Festival like a few months ago, and now the Autumn Festival.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
And with that, demos came back, and normally demos haven't been an issue over years.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and they're also doing like live. Like they've integrated the whole thing with live content from the studio producers as well. They're doing Let's Plays. They're doing a whole pile of things like that around it as well. So they're almost kind of making it almost like a substitute video game conference around it as well, but a really indie one, which is really kind of nice. So, and I didn't even have any idea that it was going on. I've got one of my community is really big in indie games, and she was the one who put me onto Nuts. And then I started down that path. It's like, wow, it's fantastic! What a great opportunity to try out some interesting games, to get involved in some beta testing if you want to do that. Give feedback to devs and sort of see where people are going, where their heads at in different directions and different platforms. But yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, had some really good, unique experiences.
Yeah, what I also
learned to dance.
Oh yeah. What I also have seen is that people or those devs are using much more the Steam broadcast feature, where you can stream to the Steam store page of the game, and there you can. It depends if it's a past, so it's a rebroadcast of a recording already, or even if people are streaming that live, and you can interact with those, especially with the developers there directly. That's pretty cool, and I've seen that a lot of games are using that now, especially with the festival.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using the Steam broadcast to our page as well for the regular weekly event we've been having, and using the Steam broadcast a lot more as well to sort of publish events and things that happen, and getting gameplay of the game onto the Steam store page as well. But yeah, it's been really good that they've had a whole schedule of events. It's like a little mini festival. It's really well done, and it's good to sort of see Steam getting behind some indie developers like this too. You know, I mean, that's how Aben really got involved. You know, a 2-person team was really the start of Synth Riders, and having something like that when Synth Riders first started would have been really helpful. I would imagine, Aben, it would have been so good to have that extra support.
Yeah, and how are those Steam broadcasts working out? I mean, performance-wise, how many viewers are there, and how many is that called retention rate? So, is there a relation between the amount of viewers and like selling games or wishlisting games?
That I'm not sure. I haven't got that data in my hands, but we sort of look at it and say it's just another way to get live, because you know, when you go to a Steam page, being able to see how a game plays is just as important as being able to see screenshots. You know, screenshots are very flat, especially for something like VR. Hello, bird. My bird's decided to come and say hello.
Hello.
He's green, so he doesn't show up very well in here. But he's just hanging out. Certainly, having some live gameplay, especially mixed reality content, just communicates the experience so much better. So having just that extra bit of movement, bit of interest, and a bit of explanation will help someone who's kind of not sure or a bit on the fence, looking at marketing trailers or promos. Seeing actual gameplay really is helpful. I know that's what I look for. I want to see how a game plays. So yeah, it's just another way of getting that message across.
Aben, do you wanted to add something there?
Not really. I mean, I haven't really looked at the numbers yet, and if it's really like converting into something, but it might be doing something.
Yeah, I think Steam is offering some statistics for you. I know that from Everspace a little bit, because I was allowed to stream to their store page, and especially if we have a feature on the Steam front page, a lot of people are watching there. That's amazing how many people are watching there. So if you have the opportunity to get that featured slot and then do the Steam broadcast, I think the numbers will go through the roof. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about live? What have you been playing recently? Except Beat Saber, I guess, of course.
Right. Well, Beat Saber, a little bit of Synth Riders, of course. But,
okay.
probably my VR extent right there. I'm doing a few demos, checking them out. None of them really worth mentioning at the moment. As for Pancake, my old staples that I like to play when I have the time. 7 Days to Die, Ori, things like that. nothing too sexy or exciting there.
No, those are great games, especially 7 Days to Die. I think there's a big community behind that.
And it's good for Linux players like yourself.
I know it has a native Linux version. Yeah, and I have to admit I'm ashamed I've never played that yet. I still have to do that.
So what have you been playing?
A lot of games. Every day, a single game. So I had the opportunity, because I'm a Kickstarter backer of Everspace 2. I have access to the closed alpha and beta, and I was playing that. And Everspace is one of my most favorite pancake space games, so I like that a lot. I've recently looked into Deep Rock Galactic, which is a co-op game where you're playing dwarves, which are sent to a planet and have to do mining there and missions and objectives. That's pretty cool. And I've played GTFO, and that does not mean get the F out, apparently. Everybody thought it's get the F out, but the developers kind of confirmed that it does not mean that. It's probably something else, but we don't know yet. It's early access still. And the special thing about that game is they have a limited set of levels. And those levels are called a rundown. It has rook-like elements, so if you die, you have to start that level again. And it has like 10 levels. It depends a little bit. There are layers or levels which you have to beat until you get to the next level below, and you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper you get, the more difficulty the difficulty increases. And you have to play very well together. So the subtitle of that game is Work Together or Die Together. And that's pretty much true. But they also say when they update the levels, they are reusing the assets, so they have a faster development cycle. And that's why they cannot guarantee that they cannot guarantee that the former levels are still working. So they completely replace those sets of levels. And they're working now on the next set of levels, and one set of levels is called Rundown. So we're waiting a little bit for the new Rundown there. And I've looked into Phasmophobia a little bit, which does have a VR mode, but I didn't dare to play that in VR yet. It's on my list. We will see.
That's a lot.
Yeah, VR, I'm playing on a regular basis those rhythm VR games, Beat Saber, Pistol Whip, and of course Synth Riders. And Synth Riders, that's what we are going to talk about now a lot. Oh, one thing I was missing. I wanted to play Star Wars Squadrons, but I can't play that on my system. And the interesting thing that was on Twitter posted that 15% of the gamers are playing that in VR. 15% of a game like Star Wars Squadrons, which is probably a AAA title and has a lot of sales. I think 15% is quite a lot. That's a huge number of VR players.
I've heard that, and I had the same impression. Like 50% actually is not a bad number at all.
No.
That's amazing. So the VR is not that kind of a niche anymore, I have the impression.
Well, I would think, game headsets like the Quest and the Rift S at their price points really help overcome that being a niche so much.
Well, that's pretty amazing. 15%. I think VR is getting somewhere. It's here to stay. That's for sure.
It's good, but also 85% of people aren't having the amazing experience of having it in
There
VR.
is still room to improve.
Come on.
Of course, there's still room for improvement.
That's right.
Yeah, let's talk about Synth Riders. All the things Synth Riders. For example, how did you come up with the idea of making a rhythm-based game where you have to touch spheres? How did that idea came up?
it was a little bit of a back and forth process, like try to find some mechanic that works. But at the same time, we wanted to make it simple, because when we started Synth Riders, VR was like, if it's still niche, it was like at the beginning, like
I remember
4 years ago or something. So we don't want to go too crazy. So the idea of hitting spheres was something simple enough to bring something to the table. But at the same time, I had this super, let's say, fever with cyberpunk and retrowave aesthetic that I've been like improving through the years. I have a community of artists on Instagram called Retrowave VR, and what I usually do is to feature artists that are like into that like cyberpunkish or retrowave aesthetic, and also featuring a lot of synthwave artists. So I'm not doing it so much these days, but I was super active 2 years ago, and yeah, I mean it is pretty much like a database of inspiration that you can actually, if you are into that field, you can go to Retro VR and see like different kind of style and really nice stuff that people have been doing. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, especially, I have to admit, especially that synthwave music style, that's totally my kind of music. I like that so much. The cyberpunk thing and this, I think also it fits very well for synth riders. I mean, of course, there's Beat Saber, but that gameplay, that's a different kind of music that suits that. And the synthwave with riding those waves, that fits so well to that kind of gameplay. So that's, I was surprised that was such a good fit.
There's a fun story around Synth Riders as a name, because Synth Riders is supposed to be a synthwave experience, and that's it, like a small game. But it ended up like having a community, and a lot of people was super interesting. Like it was like we had like so many debates in like internally, like should we keep under the name of synthwave if we want to. Synth Riders, if we want to explore different genres, so we don't need to like stick to synthwave. So we're still like playing around that. We're not gonna change the name at all at this point, but
too late.
We've had those discussions. We have that discussion, like what it's gonna look if we put like a electro swing pack into a game that everything looks super cyberpunk style. So, but yeah, we had to do like some work around, like, okay, for especially for the electro swing pack. So the idea, the thing that we did to make it fit into that cyberpunk style was, okay, let's bring some steampunk to Synth Riders, and it really like they work pretty well.
It totally does. The music pack, I remember, because that's something that's pretty special about you, because you are, how to say, approachable. You're watching streams of Synth Riders, so you're interacting with the people who play that live. And I remember when you chimed into my stream for the first time and offered me to gift me that music pack, that DLC, and I said no, I'm going totally to pay for that, because that game, I like to support that, because that was so well. I had the issue because, as you know, I'm playing not on Windows, I'm playing on Linux. And there was an issue with the first version and the Wirrel integration. There was something up and it didn't work. It just didn't start. There was, I think the Wirrel DLL had an issue, but that was replaced with that Wirrel Watch integration. And that works out of the box. And since then, I'm so happy that I can play that. And I was even able to get these this mixed reality view with the third-person camera, even though at that point it was not configurable as it is now. And thank you very much for putting that into it. I still need to figure out how I get that properly to work. I have not tinkered with that much, because the other third-person view was already on point enough for me to have that experience to show that in mixed reality. Right. Because mixed reality is totally the way to show VR games. It depends a little bit if you're playing games that have a standing or how to say a simulation character, or if they are like, you're facing more or less in one direction, and it's totally fine that the camera is always behind you and facing in that direction. So there are some games where it won't work because you're turning around and then the camera doesn't turn with you. So you would face to the camera, the action is in front of you, but the camera looks behind you. So for those games, like the rhythm VR games, it's totally suitable because you are standing there and the world is coming towards you. So it's perfect. And mixed reality is a very important thing to showcase those games. Totally. And for Synth writers, it works very well with the third-person camera. So I remember when you've been there, and then I was asking you about the freely configurable third-person cam. So I could get that a little bit more on point. And that challenge we had, because Aben said, okay, if you know that, who came up with that challenge even? I can't remember. Was it?
I think it was, I'm not sure if it was me, it was someone else, but.
It was like, full combo this, if you don't full combo this song, or perfect, it's called perfect. If you don't perfect this song, lines of codes are being deleted. Oh my gosh. And I was sweating a lot. And I could not perfect that song again and again. But then, after I don't know, 25 tries or so, I finally was able to beat that. And then there was one line that Aben wrote in chat, and he said, codes of line are coming together. That was such a relief. That was so cool. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really like to interact with people and hear what they think. I mean, not all the time I'm actively speaking on the chat, but I'm like bouncing around different streamers just to see what they say, how they feel, if they have any problem or something. So it really helps us a lot to understand what people like the most, what kind of music they play the most, and like doing some sort of analysis in our head of how what could be a good thing to prototype or like what people will think if we bring these kind of features and those kind of fun stuff.
That's so cool. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was going to comment on, is that, while it's not uncommon to see a developer in a gamer's stream, it's very uncommon for someone like, Aben to keep doing it. It's years later, he's still doing it. He's still in the streamers, he's still checking out what the streamers are doing. There's a good chance that if he's not working or eating dinner or something, there's a good chance you'll find him in a Synth Fighter stream somewhere, finding out what they like and what they don't like the way you just said. While it's typical, it's quite common to see, developers do that at the start of a game, but once they've gotten so well fleshed out and well developed as Synth Fighters is, it's very uncommon to see developers still doing it the way Aben is. So I appreciate that about his hands-on approach from day one until now.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like a hard work for me. It's actually, I really enjoy it. I really.
Oh no, I gotta go watch people play my game.
Yeah. Let's cancel all my meetings today, please.
That's how come Invaders was put into the game, was just for you, Aben. We know that. We know that Invaders is just there so that you've got something to do when you go to people's streams, so you can drop an invader on them. I know.
Totally.
I know how it works.
So I'm just curious. I mean, there's a Twitch integration, so people can request songs, etc. And especially the latest update with the invaders and the changing color, speed, etc. Do you have a backdoor so you can like override that if the streamer says, oh, okay, today no colors, and you jump in, and if Twitch sees, okay, it's aben 311, and you type colors, it always will work? Do we have a backdoor there?
That's a really nice idea, but I'm not sure.
Oh, dang it!
Yeah,
Because-
how to get aben banned? How to get aben banned from air?
Nah, not at all. It's just so, I wanted to test something, and now I can see if that works. Okay, let's do that secret command, and whoop, magic happens. I don't know. I mean, it would work, wouldn't it?
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always there to give you good ideas, like the freely configurable third-person camera, right? No, just kidding.
There's a history of game devs with Twitch integration, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
There is a history of game devs having backdoors in Twitch integration to specifically troll people playing their game online. It's been done. I can't remember what game it was, but it has been done.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was just I was just messing around here.
No, it has been done.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It appeals to me.
might be interesting to try new things.
What we can do is like for the upcoming Twitch command and stuff, so we can test it out myself, so no one can see what's
So we need to like have a look at the code, maybe decompile it and see what's possible there with secret commands. Yeah, I mean, the Twitch integration is really a good thing. I mean, streaming that in mixed reality is one thing, but integrating the viewers to interact with the streamer even, that's I think one of the best things that streaming is offering. That's what makes it stand out from like television or so. The interaction.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I keep forgetting, this is one of my major pitfalls. I keep forgetting the vast number of players out there that don't stream. So when things like invaders get, I'm like, a long time ago, I was good to myself, because you're in the minority. Streamers are in the minority. There's the majority are just out there playing. They're not streaming on Twitch. You're in the minority. Relax, Chad.
That's true, yeah.
I keep forgetting that. I'm thinking everybody out there is playing and streaming, so yeah.
Yeah, but having those integrations, especially the invaders and the color thing, because I figured out I can't do the rainbow because I still cannot look that far ahead that I know which color the sphere will have before it arrives me. And then it doesn't work for me. Also, my brain gets totally confused when it's swapping the colors in that way that it's like the opposite color of the spheres I had before. I have the red sphere always in my left hand. And if that's changing to the right hand, it's like an insta-fail for me. I can't do that. My brain is so used to having that red sphere in the left hand, and if it's changing, I can't do that. It's my brain is not capable. I have to look at the. I might be able to do it, but I have to look at the spheres again and again, keeping the controllers in front of my eyes so I can do that. It's such a nice trolling for the streamer. It's much fun. It's totally much fun, but it's also very tricky, at least for me to do. Other people can do that, and I've seen people doing that, but for me, it's very tricky.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the invaders thing. Oh yeah, what I can tell about that. I have a little son. He is 5 years old now, Mini Corbin. And he likes to play. He likes to play VR as well, and he loves the invaders in Synth Riders. He says, "Can you send those spaceships, please? Please send more spaceships." That's pretty awesome.
Nice.
I'm kind of curious. Is there anything that you can let us know about tease us about what might be coming next for Synth Rider?
Well,
now the tricky questions are coming up.
we know there's another song coming. because that's there already. the last coming soon will be filled. That should be soonish. Time for Takeover by Zardonic, featuring the Chemists. That's the next one. It's going to the Cyberpunk pack.
I'm pretty excited for that song, specifically. I'm putting some work with Tibo, which is one of the OST mappers. So he's doing the majority of the work, but I'm mapping that song with him.
Nice.
Yeah, that song is very special for me because Sardonic. I'm a friend of Sardonic, and he's a DJ from Venezuela. And we used to play music together when we were DJs, like a long time ago. So I was more like a techno DJ, and he was more like drum and bass DJ.
Okay.
And we used to have like fun, like in parties and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so just out of curiosity, so you have been in the music business before you started developing games. If you say you have been a DJ,
I was DJ for around 4 or 5 years, and I was studying music for 5 years as well, like when I was young.
Okay, so how did you get to that transition, or what inspired you to create games? How is it from music to creating? I mean, okay, if you do games and are into music, that synergy is kind of obvious. But developing games, that in general, how did that come?
I mean, but it was pretty much VR. I've never done like a proper game before VR came out. But I mean, I'm super like I used to play like so many games and try to get expert. One of the games that it's like I will say like my favorite game ever is Killer Instinct, and I was like in the top 1,000 rank at the time online. And
Pro gamer.
Like Thumper is another one that I really scale, like not to the limits, but a lot. But yeah, I mean, when VR came to the market, I was like, this is gonna change the market completely. I need to do something with that. So the first project that I did was a VR experience with my mother. Which is my mother is an artist, and what I did was like how to like make the artwork of my mom like have like a working VR. So because her kind of style is pretty like modular, so pretty much the experience is you land in a framework that you can see below you, underneath, and pieces that are related to the artwork are pieces that I picked and I did it in 3D, and they will like flying around you. So I picked five artwork, and I did like a 2 minutes experience or something like that.
Okay,
it was
cool.
It was super nice at the time. I had the chance to present it on an event in the Google headquarters. So it was super nice experience.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and so when you were starting the game development, I mean, there must have been like a technical, how to say, approach, for example, which engine to use. So, I mean, there are some VR engines out there. So how did you find your decision there?
Oh, because I was already using Unity at that time, because we've been doing like AR stuff, like AR
augmented reality.
For some clients. So it was easy for me to jump into Unity.
Okay.
I've got a question for you, not to go negative, but I'm curious what technical, and you can get really geeky out here, even if I don't understand it. I'm sure others might. But what technical regret might you have in your like oh, I wish we had gone this way. Not necessarily like not going using Unity, but maybe I wish we had done this queuing system that we did this last update. I wish we'd done that back at the very beginning. It would have made things so much easier. You know, like what kind of could you go back and start over from the beginning again? What might you do differently?
Not really much, to be honest, because we've been adapting the game so much. So there's nothing that I will actually point out and say like, if we did it this way, our path will be different or something. I think.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
I think that's a good sign for Unity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
And for the game itself, absolutely.
Okay, I mean, I have some more questions, but there's one question for me personally, because as I'm a Linux gamer and Unity does support natively Linux, have you considered that? Creating a native Linux version of Synth Riders? Or are you even getting requests about that, except from me?
No, only you.
Dang it! But I had to ask.
And Corbin, I'm a former Unix systems administrator, so if anyone's gonna push for it,
can you poke him a little bit more? Now, I have to admit, it works pretty well with what Valve did. I mean, they did this system called Proton, which is a wine fork they maintain. And they have a VR bridge. And the Unity games, or even, most of the VR games, and a lot of them are Unity, that works more or less out of the box. And Synth Riders, after the integration of the Your Watch, that started to work out of the box. Performance is good. So a native version would, of course, be a little bit more appealing, you know. But yeah, it works pretty well. I can play that, and that's the most important thing for me. But yeah, I mean, have you considered that at all? Creating a native version there?
Not really, but now that you mentioned, I think Wirrel will push for that.
No, I won't. Why would I do that?
I'm joking.
Come on. No, I had to ask that.
We have quite a few ports that we have in the pipeline. I'm not. I can talk with it. I mean, we can bounce out that idea with the team and see how feasible it is.
I mean, there are people interested in that for sure. I mean, they've seen it works with Proton and then they bought it. So I mean, you should be able to see that on the Steam statistics, that there are at least some Linux players, not that many probably, but
there's 3 of them.
So there is and me, and there must be more. There must be more than 3. There must be more than 3, and I don't know how many are streaming that even. So, but there must be more. There must be totally more. Agent JRT from chat, for example, he is doing that. He's playing that on Linux. I just had to ask that.
Lethia had a question. Is that right, Corbin?
Did I see that? Is that in Discord? Otherwise, I probably not see that. Does Aben himself play Synth Riders a lot?
You played a lot. That's the question. It's like, no, I'm too busy making the damn thing. I can't play it that much.
What was the question, right?
Are you playing your own game a lot?
Oh, yes and no. I mean, I used to play a lot, but now I'm playing more with the eye of understanding like what we're doing and if there are any bug or something. But having fun playing, like not too often, but I use, like, for example, when we're building a new music pack or something, it's like, okay, I want to play this map now. But yeah, I mean, it's
we only played in multiplayer together fairly recently for the first time.
Yeah,
but I still have to play multiplayer.
The game, I mean the game like all the time. So maybe it's that, like, I'm trying to like.
Right.
It's I'm playing, but not like playing with the vision of like I need to beat this score or something.
Right. I would imagine very rarely, because you do
I
play
get
it so
that.
often while you're developing. That's very rarely do you pick up your headset and go, "I'm going to play Synth Riders for a couple hours." More than likely you'd be like, "No, I'm going to have a beer for a couple hours and watch other people play Synth Riders."
Yeah.
I mean, there are always two parts. The makers, I mean, for example, if there's a chef, he can do delicious things, but there has to be somebody who can rate that. So there have to be people who eat that and can say, yeah, that is really delicious. And the same is true for movies, for games. So there are the guys who make the thing, and there are the other guys who use that thing. And developing thing is, of course, the first thing you have to do, because otherwise the game wouldn't be there. But then being a good player, that's something different. And coming up with the technique for that, and others perfecting those songs with high scores, those are, of course, two worlds, I guess. I mean, it might happen that the developers are pro gamers in their own game as well. But I would imagine that it's very difficult to be a pro gamer in your own game, because the vision you have and beating your own vision, that's a little bit tricky, I guess.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Wirrel? Because she was like a player before started working with us.
I make time to play. Like, I think it's really important to actually make time to play. So, and that I roll that into my Friday, my streaming time as well. That is playtime, and it's tough because when you come into play, you go, oh my God, that bug needs to be fixed. Oh my God, that's still there. Oh my God, you really have to try and say nope, put that to one side. I can come back and look at this later. Like, if it's really serious, I can clip it. But it's really important to make that time to play, because if you don't make time to play, what's the point of doing it? It's there, and unless you have that experience of playing with it with the intent to play, you can miss a lot of the joy in the game. And for me, that was the reason.
Totally.
I started in Synth Riders is because Synth Riders brings me so much joy to play. It's an environment I love. I live here.
We see, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a long time of being in the game, and I'm still not sick of it. And that's because there's always opportunity to change things, to do things differently. And sometimes the best inspiration comes from the play. So while you're playing, you can have these "wouldn't it be cool if" moments, and those are precious. And you don't have them if you don't play. The other thing I really like to do is to get into multiplayer and just quietly play with people too. Like, I like to jump into a room and have a chat to a few people and see how they're going, what are they struggling with. It's a good opportunity just to have a little chat. And sometimes people may not want to come out in a public forum or on a stream or on a Discord. These are just people who've got a quest. Someone's bought their mum and dad a quest, and mum's playing at home during COVID, and you can have a chat to these people that you wouldn't get an opinion from or get information from any other way. And it's been sensational. Like, to give you a good example of that, I've sort of made a contact with a player. She's US based and has a vision impairment. Now, for her, we learned in this process there was only one stage in the game that she could actually play on. And when it came time to do the latest set of visual updates, we found out that stage was one that was impacted negatively. So, and I know because I've been playing with her every so often. I jump in, I know where she's around, made contact with her. Well, we've got her a custom stage now. Rory has been so good and has made a custom stage for the game so that she can keep playing, because the visual improvements that were needed for that stage for everybody, in fact, affected one player negatively. Now, I would never have known that if I didn't make that time to play, to play and be part of the community.
That's cool.
So it's something, and that's been led from the top. You've talked about how Aben goes and sits in people's streams. He's always done that, and that's very much part of that Kluge ethos, which is to be very hand in hand with the people who are playing the game. If you don't go on the journey with them, you don't know what you need to do. And having that community front is just so important. It's been led from the top, from Aben and Jan at the top. It's just come down through the whole community. And
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
I'm going to share a personal question for both of y'all. Intel or AMD when it comes to CPUs? Is your preference, Aben and Wirrel?
Intel for me.
Intel, Wirrel,
AMD.
AMD. So, were you excited about the recent news then, Wirrel?
I'm excited about everything, but I'm still using a CPU that's something like 6 or 8 years old or something ridiculous.
Right on.
As long as it can play Synth Riders, it's all good.
Exactly. Every time we get to it, we go, must be the CPU time to get rid of the CPU. Everyone says time to throw it away. Nope, just keeps running. It's fantastic. You should see my rig. It's just ridiculous. We call it Dubu used to have the worst gaming rig in the Synth Riders community. Dubu got an upgrade. Now it's mine. So I'm the canary down the coal mine. If it doesn't run on my machine, then it's not going to run for anybody. And it just keeps going, you know. It's an 8-core an FX series CPU, and it just seems to keep on chugging along.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I love my AMD.
Yeah,
it's great.
With the newest AMD news, and the reason why I brought that is because I noticed that things keep getting more and more powerful as far as the hardware is concerned, but the game and the technology behind the game, Steam's technology or Oculus's, is getting less and less resource heavy. So when do you see it as basically a stock computer will run VR? I mean, how long do you think before we get to that level? Just personal opinion, where a stock computer is going to be VR ready, basically.
I reckon it depends so much on the GPU. I mean, that's what I find for me. And I'm still running. I've got a 1080 Ti in the current machine. So, like I said, that's why we say CPU is one thing, but having a 1080 Ti is great. And like I started doing mixed reality on my old NVIDIA 970, and that still runs Synth Riders absolutely fine on a piece of junk media PC that's just sitting in the corner. The GPU is just so important for what we do. So as the GPUs inside of stock computers get that 1, 2, 3 generation old GPU going into them, no problem. And we've got players playing on laptops now.
Absolutely.
I find that crazy. And I think probably even doing work with the Quest, like a lot of the time with the Quest, developers are learning how to optimize to fit into that small mobile phone footprint pretty much. Those techniques that they learn for optimizing for that get applied to the PC versions. I think we're well and truly on the way.
Having that. Yeah, I agree with that. And with the technologies that have come in like I said, the most recent AMD and what's coming next with Intel, I think it very well could be that those integrated graphics are going to be good enough to run a game just fine on good numbers with, getting good performance. You won't be able to stream with Live and do everything else with it, but you'll be able to at least play the game. I think with these next levels of integrated graphics, I think the requirement for a second card is going to be gone out the window, and I'm excited for that. It'll bring a lot more people ability to play the games, I think.
Yep, totally agree.
Oh, that's pretty awesome, yeah. I mean, I have seen, especially depending on the HMD also you're using. So I started with the HTC Vive, the non-Pro, and that worked, for example, pretty decent on my Intel 6700 and 1070 GPU. But as soon as I upgraded to the Index, that are a lot more of pixel to drive. And there the 1070 was, you had to downgrade there, like lower the refresh rate or so, or even lower super sampling and etc. And especially with the Index, you want to have the high fidelity visuals. So that was the time where I was upgrading. I mean, for the desktop PC, the 1070 is still fine. Also, you cannot get any of the 30 series cards right now. And so I'm sticking with that for a while. And on my notebook, I'm using a notebook for VR because I'm too lazy to carry my desktop PC down, because here I have a flat with 2 levels, levels, this is called levels, I think. And I'm too lazy to carry my PC down, because downstairs I have the room scale area, not above here. So playing VR, I needed a second machine, but I didn't want to put there a full-fledged PC housing down there. So a notebook was the perfect compromise between performance and the space you need there to put the device up there, down there. It's down.
Right on.
So yeah.
As long as it works.
Yep. Right.
And it plays synthesizers for me on Linux pretty decent. So yeah, this is pretty awesome.
What was your first headset, Aben? Your first VR headset?
Say it again?
What was your first VR headset?
It was
Floors.
the Quest. No, the Quest. The Oculus CV1. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people had it for the first headset. What about you, Wirrel? What was your first headset?
The Vive, OG Vive. I've still got one.
Yeah. Same here, OG
Use it,
Vive.
still working.
Yeah,
Yep,
those are
same
great.
base stations.
Yeah,
Same base stations that I've had since 2016, still kicking along.
yeah.
Same controllers.
They're tough little units that keep looking.
They are.
Absolutely. I've got my same base stations, my same ones. I did upgrade to the Index headset, but everything else is still OG. And I still have my original Vive as well. My first headset was actually the Gear VR. That was my first VR headset.
Google Cardboard. I don't know if you can call that a VR headset, but it was a way to experience VR, and that even inexpensively. So that was, I mean, I still have one of those Google Cardboard thingies. I mean, they are ugly as heck, but I mean, they were able to transport a VR experience. So that was a good start, just to see how cool VR is. And explaining VR is pretty tricky. I mean, telling about a movie or a pancake game, I mean, there you can show screenshots, etc. But the feeling you have in VR, and it doesn't matter if that's a story-based game or if that's a rhythm-based game, that feeling, you cannot talk about that. You cannot transport that to somebody else. You have to experience that on your own, more or less.
I agree with you.
Yep, 100%. And I'm so envious of people having their first experiences of VR, you know. It's like, I can remember what that was like getting in the blue for the first time and the whale with the tail. Oh my God. I can remember that experience. And that's one of my favorite things to share with people, their first experience of true immersion when they buy in, and it's magic. It's absolute magical. It's witchcraft. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One here as well.
Hey, that's the question.
Yeah.
Look at that. Sexy.
It works pretty well. I really like it. It's a huge improvement from the Quest 1.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot.
I will eventually get one, I'm sure, at some point in time.
You will love it. The quality is much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the first headsets were available and shown at exhibitions, and that was the Oculus DK1, if I remember correctly, with that low resolution where you could really see all the pixels. I mean, that was really an improvement with the first consumer headsets that came out. But the Oculus DK1, that resolution, that was pretty low. But still, I was doing the roller coaster demo when I was trying that for the first time. And oh my gosh, that feeling with that headset in front of your eyes and being able to look around and then suddenly going down, my stomach was going upside down. Even though I was sitting in a chair, not moving. But that experience, even though the resolution was low, it totally worked. And I think even with the first consumer headsets, even though they didn't have that high resolution, it was like play for 5 minutes and you totally forget about where you are. That already worked. And when I see my little son playing with VR, and he was trying the from Valve, the Lab, if you remember that, which has some demo stuff going on. There's this little dog, the white dog that you can pet. Oh my gosh, he was.
Yeah, I remember that.
He enjoyed that so much, playing with that dog, and it worked out of the box. I just pointed the controllers to him. He took them, and he was playing with the dog. It works really for every age. VR is working.
Absolutely. Well, my first experience was the a video actually from Cirque du Soleil, Curios, where it was a 360 environment. And you're sitting in the middle of the room, and they're doing all their Cirque du Soleil stuff around you. So like you're on the stage watching all the Cirque du Soleil things go around you. That was my first one, and then my second one was the roller coaster. And those are the two that I was, when I was trying to introduce people into VR, those are the two that I said, hey, why don't you try these first? Watch a encompassing movie or video, and then also try and get immersed into an actual moving object. And I told people, when you get on the roller coaster, don't be afraid to lean into it. Act like you're on the roller coaster. It becomes more and more immersive for you. And so, yeah, it would be interesting to see people sitting in their chair with their headset doing this, and we're going, oh no. So anyway, about that, what was your first VR experience, Wirrel and Aben both?
Mine was definitely the blue. Yeah,
blue.
mine was the blue.
Mine was a mobile VR roller coaster, actually.
Same here. Yep. I've never done the plank. I've never done the plank on the city scraper or on the ocean. I've never done that one. A lot of people have, but I've never done it. No.
Yeah. So funny. We've got 3 nieces and a nephew who are all, quite young. I put the littlest one into the blue for the first time. They're doing one of the experiences in there. She loves turtles. So she's like, I want to see the turtles. She's freaking out every time the turtles go overhead. She's like, oh my God, the turtles. Then the jellyfish start. She's terrified of the jellyfish. And she went, we're like, you can take the headset if you want. You can close your eyes. No, I'm just going to sit down here. You tell me when it's gone, and I'm going to pat the sea anemones on the floor. And so she's crawling around on the floor down here in the VR room, patting these anemones. She goes, is it gone yet? It's like, yep, okay, it's gone. And she's back up again. Her second experience in VR, she said, I want to go with the jellyfish again. I want to face them. And she did. She totally wanted to face her fear of these jellyfish. And so she got in, and again, they started coming, and she's like, oh, she's getting a bit scared. And everyone's like, no, it's okay. You can look. And it's like she faced her fears in VR. It's just so cute to have that experience when you're like 8 years old. Sensational. One lesson that learned straight away there. It's just brilliant. Yeah, it's just so good for kids. They love it. And the same 2 kids are Harry Potter fans, so playing Waltz the Wizard. What an experience for kids. They've been reading Harry Potter books, and these are kids who don't have access to gaming generally. They're not gamer kids at all. They come to Uncle and Auntie's house to play video games with us. So we look after them with that sort of experience. And to have that indulgence in their life of Harry Potter in VR is just great. They'll play with that for hours. They love it. Absolutely love it.
That is awesome. I've played with it a little bit myself, and I can see where you can get lost in that. Absolutely. Let your imagination run wild.
I just also what I heard about that VR is used to help people who have fear of height. So that works for people who are afraid of heights. So not only children can face their fears, but also grown-ups. So for treating certain fears, that works. And there was one experience that's a little bit, how to say, sad. But there was, I think, a child died pretty soon, and there was a Japanese mother who was able to say goodbye to her daughter in VR because they were reimagining from pictures and from sound bites her daughter, and in that VR experience she could finally say goodbye to her daughter. So VR is really something that's beyond games as well.
Definitely. And look, one of my particular interests is rehabilitation. And there's a group out of Texas that are using a lot of VR as part of active rehab. And where I live here in South Australia, the lab here does some work too. One of the things that they do is they use VR to essentially amplify things. So say, for example, you have an injury where you've got an inhibition due to an injury. You sort of, when you go to move your arm a particular distance, you stop moving because you go, it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. Well, in VR, they can give you the perception that you're moving your arm a lot less than what you actually are in reality. so they can scale it back down. So they're using that to essentially help people to increase their range of motion by showing them, that they're only moving this much in the headset when they're actually moving this much. It's really good. So lots of techniques like that. And, certainly it's a lot more interesting to practice climbing a ladder or practice scaling a mountaintop than it is to sit here and do this 20 times as part of your rehab. It's a lot more engaging, a lot more interesting, and compliance is a really important thing when it comes to doing rehab for injuries. So getting people wanting to do their exercise is so important. So you can use VR as a great tool for that. And because it's VR, because it's computer managed, you can then do tracking and data analysis for your therapists as well. You can say, yep, I saw that you did this movement 30 times because you climbed the ladder in this experience that I've put together for you. So there's I think they're called Neuro Rehab Designs out of Texas, are making game experiences specifically for rehab. Sensational stuff, really, really interesting to sort of see therapeutic use. Talking about phobias as well, I believe there's an arachnophobia desensitization experience.
I hate spiders.
Yeah, well, there is a full desensitization experience that can be done, which starts off essentially with you in a room where you can see the spiders. Don't do that one, maybe.
No. I mean, I've played like Metro Exodus recently. And if you know that game, sometimes when you are underground there are these spider webs. And when you walk through you have a lighter, so you can burn those spider webs. But if you miss one and you walk through it, then those spiders are crawling around your arms and even around your face. Oh gosh, this is in Pancake. And I can't stand that, really. I mean, I don't hate spiders, but I'm also not best friends with them, okay? So.
Well, the VR one that I've seen.
No, thank you.
I have seen the VR one, and it shows you your hands. But the thing is, you can't move your hands.
Yeah, and then they crawl around it, right?
Yeah, eventually. But you start off with them just being on the table. So it is essentially levels.
Yeah,
levels of
okay. I will stick to Metro Exodus, though.
I when you were talking about, I know the company you were talking about here in Texas is where I'm at currently. Because and also one of the things that the company that I work for is doing, and we're not going to talk about them because I'm not plugging them or anything, but we use VR to identify the way the biometrics, certain biometrics while in VR, the way you move, the way particularly the way you might draw with your hand in the air, that sort of simulation. We're able to measure those biometrics. And in the same turn is be able, but it's great. Well, now that we use your technology on a flat platform to be able to determine whether or not someone is biometrically anxious or all these other kind of, are they off their meds, or they, on their meds, that sort of thing. Can we do this in VR as well while they're playing games? Because one of the actual things that some types of minded people can overplay inside VR, and it affects their balance, I guess is the best way to say it. And using that level to say, okay, yeah, you need this, you might need this. It's really interesting, but it's something that we're talking with that company that you mentioned, and the data that they have is just astronomical in being able to assist us. Yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff.
Yep. It's super fascinating. Like I love seeing these positive applications, because so often people dismiss VR and say, oh, it's just gaming, this is just nonsense. But when you can see some really serious real world applications, I've got another friend that they use VR a lot for training in dangerous environments. So doing hazardous environments. So they can send in a film crew to do, like you were talking about 360 videos before. They go in with a 360 camera and do a once-off view through a hazardous environment, and then they can go and use VR to train people to go into that hazardous environment without having to take them into that hazardous environment all the time, so they can give them that pre-training. I think there's lots of really good real-world applications of VR, and we're going to see it taken a lot more seriously in the future too. So, yeah, gaming paves the way, and then, it's always a good thing.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, well, that was quite a nice excursus to what VR is capable of. But I'd like to turn around a little bit back to Synth Riders, though. And because, I mean, I have two more bullet points at least, but also what I wanted to ask, so if new players are coming to Synth Riders, what would you advise them how to like approach the game? So, for example, if you play other games, that have, let's say, the scoring system, for example. In Synth Riders, it's like if you want to have a decent score, perfect it or retry. So what would you advise for new players when playing Synth Riders for the first time? Except of train a lot or get a lot of experience. But yeah, if you have some advice there.
The first thing I'd say is don't ignore the OST. The OST is a lot of time is spent in the OST grading the difficulties. And unlike some other games, you definitely don't want to ignore the OST. It's really well done, and a huge amount of effort's been put in. In fact, recently we've just gone through and completely redone all of the old OST that's been there since day one. Has been sort of brought more up to scratch. Timing's been fixed. And been properly graded through the lower difficulties and made it really good. So yeah, start with the lower difficulties and grade your way through to where you are comfortable. If you're coming from something like Beat Saber, if you're an expert plus player, well, you're not going to be playing easy. You won't be playing easy, normal, or hard. Hard is where you're going to start to get the left brain, right brain challenges. You're going to get more of the crossovers. That's when they really start to appear at the hard difficulty. So depending on how your coordination goes from other games, you may start with hard or expert. You know, don't sort of be playing an easy and going, it's too easy. The other thing I would do is a lot of people are avoiding the play area scaling. So we introduced onboarding because one of the common criticisms of the game is that I'm not moving enough because they're used to moving in different ways. So play area scaling came in as part of the onboarding, which essentially says, you know, if you're depending on your height, you may want to play with an expanded grid to move the targets further apart to make you move more. That's why that was put in, because one of the most common reasons people didn't want to play Synth Riders was they're like, well, it's too easy. I'm not moving. I can just stand there and not move. If you introduce the play area scaling, it will encourage you to move more. So definitely, especially for OST, again, that's all been designed around someone. In the editor, there's an overlay of a figure, and that figure is 168 centimeters tall. So if you are taller than 168 centimeters, which is around about 5'6" and a bit, than the other measurement, then if you're taller than that, then you are essentially not playing the grid as it's intended. You're playing on a smaller grid than what you're seeing. The grid doesn't scale for your height at all. So the play area scaling is there for that if you feel like you need to move more. The other thing is the two different styles of play. So there is a rhythm and force, and they're both very different in terms of the scoring. So rhythm mode, the scoring is based on accuracy, and there is a tutorial you can use. The tutorial isn't just about like taking you through all the different mechanics because of the 4 notes, which is a little bit different. There are 2 other sections in the tutorial. One is for rhythm, one is force, and it will show you in real time where you are hitting on the target. So if you're saying, well, I don't know how to hit perfect notes, go and play the rhythm tutorial and sit there and hit that target so you can get your perception dialed in for where you need to hit for your score.
That's what I have to do.
Yeah, well, it's there. It's there for you. The little accuracy graph is there, and you'll see a little scatter plot. A little white dot will appear on that graph showing you where you hit on that target. So you've got that feedback is there. So that's rhythm mode. It's close to the center as possible. The game is designed to be as fun as possible for most people. So the idea is it's very easy to get a hit, but it's much harder to get a perfect hit.
Oh,
so
yes.
The closer to get, all right. So to get to the closer to the center, so it's generous to allow you to have fun, to make it as approachable as possible. But to push your way up the scoreboards, if that's what you want to do, you're going to have to dial in that focus a lot more. So yeah, use the tutorial for that. There are a couple of really good community guides that you could read as well if you're keen to do that. Both Mimi and Zexus have put together some scoring guides about their methods that they would use to help you get up the leaderboards for rhythm mode, and Emikoto's put together a force guide. So there's some of the top players. Now force mode is completely different. Accuracy is not important for force mode. All right. So all you have to do is hit it. It doesn't matter where you hit it. To get a perfect score, though, you need to be moving through the note with velocity. So it's about continuous movement. So if you're someone who likes to play in a more flowing style, then turn on force mode and go and have a play in there. But you understand that the approach styles are different. One is about hitting as close to the center as possible on the note. The other is about passing through the note and having continual movement through the whole chains of notes. So once you and use the tutorials, they really help a lot. Both those play styles are covered in the tutorials. But the most important, I'd say, for a new player is just have fun with it. It's a game. It's meant to be fun. So enjoy the music, enjoy the movement, and just appreciate the differences. Variety is the spice of life. But that's probably the best breakdown of mechanics I can give you for that.
Yeah, cool. I mean, especially the thing. Sorry. Though I played the tutorial, I still have issues with getting those perfect hits. And
so
when
next button down.
I need to retry that. Especially that's what you were mentioning about the scale. I realized because I'm taller than 186, I'm 168. I am 186, and each time I do the auto calibration, it sets the scale to 1.1. But I also realized when it's set to 1.1, I'm hitting worse. So I set it back to 1.0, and then my accuracy a little bit better. But I still struggle that much getting there.
So you think about as the person who does the testing, and I happen to conveniently be 168 centimeters tall.
Ooh.
So think about the difference between your arm span and mine. So I don't have the option. I can't scale down the play grid. I have to play at the same scale that you play, and you've got the advantage of having a much longer arm span than I do.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the thing to consider.
When I look at the scoreboard, you're still having way much better scores than I do. There's a secret. There's a secret that I still need to figure out. Aben, can you tell me the secret?
It depends. Maybe.
What challenge do I have to master?
You have to go through a challenge first.
Which one? Let me know. I will do it. I will start right now. There's some competition going on. After a while, I mean, you start playing the game, and when I started playing, there is a very nice VR community of synth riders, and people were chiming into my stream and helping me out with some tips. And I pretty much learned that you want to have those perfect runs. And I think it's true what you said. Playing the OST helps you a lot because the patterns you have in the OST, they adapt to all the other songs, custom songs, etc. as well. And getting into one of those songs, I think I can't remember the name though, but there have been pretty tricky patterns where you have also crossovers, not only up and downs, but also crossovers, etc. And that helps a lot if you play that song again and again. Of course, the more practice you have, the better you get. But still, when I look at the final results, I still have up to 10% poor cuts, about 50% or 60%, not even more, I guess, 70% only good cuts, and then there's 30 or 20% perfect cuts, or hits it's called. And I struggle that much with getting those perfect hits. And I don't know. I need that secret from Aben. I totally need that. And let me know that challenge.
Well, the flip side to that is how important is that to you?
There's some competition going on. People are talking to each other, and then they say, "Hey, I've beaten your score." And then you think, "Oh, dang it, that was such a good run. I have to redo it." And then I can't do it anymore. Also, how many? As there are these crossover patterns from time to time. What do you think about clapping controllers? How often does that happen to you?
Pretty much. I don't want to say never. I mean, I'm still running my original Vive one, so it can't be too bad. It's very rare for it to happen. It usually will. If it's going to happen, it'll happen in early iterations of a map. And then it's usually a case of, this particular pattern looks like it's going to be a clash. But I mean, we have single gold note claps, and you do kind of get used to where your controllers are in space.
Yeah.
And the more that you play it, the more you understand where they need to go. So certainly those single gold note claps, I don't smash my controllers at all.
Yeah, of course, it's a thing of experience, of course.
Yeah, not on Quest, and certainly not on the Vive. And
I mean,
Quest is probably more likely.
On my index controllers, they have a metal ring about the upper part there, and that had color on it. So for me, that color is mostly gone, but the controllers still work pretty good. So the controllers are pretty good in general, and I think that metal ring also helps with not smashing them too much. They take most of the hits when you clap them, and especially for the gold notes, it depends if they are like depending on the song, of course, how it's mapped. But sometimes you have two rails and they are getting together to a gold note, and that again and again, and that is like clapping. And if that is a short rail only, then the clap is more likely to happen. Because you have to react fast. And if it's a slow approach, then it's less likely. But in general, the more you practice, the less clapping happens.
Yeah, certainly I know some people with the Oculus controllers, with the rings on the Oculus controllers. I know certainly we'd sort of discussed this between the CV1 and the Quest/Rift controllers. There are holds that you can do to make it less likely that you will smash the rings of those controllers together as well. I spent a fair bit of time talking to new Quest players about how you can hold them outward, just essentially rotate the grip a little bit so that you won't smash the rings together, keep the rings on the outside. And that still works quite well for detection of gold notes. Works pretty well.
Yeah, even though not related to clapping controllers, but controllers in general, I mean, there are different types of controllers. The Vive Vans are pretty much different to the Oculus Touch controllers. And there are the index controllers. So what do you think are the best controllers to play synthesizer? I mean, it works with all of them, but some are maybe more suited than others. What are your experiences with that?
I've used all three, and none of them really bother me. It just takes me a little while to dial in where I need to be with each of the controllers. I think if you looked at most of the top players are either playing on Quest, like tethered Quest, or index controllers. So they seem to be the preference. But then again, I think there may even still be one who's using wands as well. I mostly use wands because that's what I've got with the Vives, so I don't have index controllers myself, being in Australia.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they're not selling it in Australia, right?
Nope, still waiting. Probably be waiting forever. It's kind of fun. And when I go to play on the Quest, the only thing I really notice is that they're just lighter. But it just takes a little while to dial in. Whichever controllers you've got are the best controllers, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That way you can play the game.
I still have my Vive controllers. I especially got Vive 2.0 controllers for the index because some games still have the loadout of the Vive Vans and not of the index. So depending on what game you are playing, you have in VR a representation of those controllers. And some games are not updated for Knuckles or the index controllers. So that gives me the advantage when my index controllers ran out of battery, I can swap to the Vive controllers. And I have to admit, the index controllers feel way better in like all games I play. And even though I was used to play with the Vive Vans a lot before, and they felt perfectly fine. But if you hold them how they are meant to be held, the center of mass is not in the center of your hand. And that's the case with the Vive index controllers. There, the center of mass is way more in the center of your hand, and that feels much more balanced. But with the Vive Vans, it feels different. And that's why I think the Vive Vans are, at least in my opinion, my least favorite to play synthesizers with. And I would imagine it's similar with the Oculus controllers because they are that smaller and lighter, that the center of mass doesn't matter that much where it's located.
Yeah, I'd use the little grips on the Quest controllers so that I can use them a bit like the index controllers. Ones that you can strap into your hand, so you can do hands-free holding, so that I can do that with the Quest. But I still find, they're lighter. The Vive ones don't bother me too much. I know that people like Toge, for example, he's always said that he prefers the index controllers for synth riders. That goes back to the Vive ones for Beat Saber, because it's a more natural feel with the ones for Beat Saber.
That's interesting. Okay.
I think reason being is because with the wands, especially if you use the B grip, you can basically just open your hands up with the straps there and tilt your fingers like this, and that just moves your entire wands up and down by just finger movement. So if you're using your wrist and your fingers at the same time, you can really get an arc. So you can really get high, hit the 15 perfect scores pretty easily. It's one of the advantages of the wands.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit tricky with the knuckles even.
Because
They are like with these straps, they are attached to your hand. You don't have to hold them anymore. You can completely open your hands, and that's what they are designed for, because you want to have that finger tracking and doing grabs. That wouldn't work with the Vive fans, of course, because there you literally have a vent in the stuff in your hand. So that's, of course, a little bit different.
With synth riders, of course, it's vastly different. You don't need to make those type of moves. It's all about just being, either on target or, constantly moving. So it is, you don't really need it. So I usually like to actually get my wands a little bit tighter than normal, snug up against my wrist, because I don't need to do this so much. It's more, this type of action. So yeah, I still enjoy the wands for synth riders as well. My index controllers are really only used for other games, non-music rhythm games.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's why if you have the opportunity to swap the controllers, that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big advantage with having the lighthouse tracking, because there you can have both type of controllers. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on. Synth Riders, as you said, it's in development since 4 years when you started that.
Through 3 years.
3 years. Okay. Yeah. So there has been a lot of improvement, and when you came out, people were interested in altering the game and adding additional features with modding. So, and what I realized is because in Beat Saber you are modding the game a lot, but in Synth Riders you don't have to. Lots of the cool features that have been, I think, been there through mods before, you have integrated them.
Yeah.
So how was that coming along? Because I think there aren't even mods anymore at all, because everything got integrated, right?
It was all to do with performance. So we had some issues around performance a while ago, where we were getting lots of lag spikes, in the people playing and saying, we're getting huge lag spikes. And at that time, part of the reason for that was the mod interface was involved in that. Yeah. So the decision was made at that time to say, well, look, what we'll do is we'll remove the mod interface. And then and take, just for a bit, the intent is for it to come back, and then take those features like the Twitch integration in particular and bring them native in game. So we don't have to run a mod interface to do those things.
Yeah, so, especially that one, which I think was the most important for people.
The Twitch integration, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So that's then the intent is definitely the intent is for modding to come back sooner rather than later, because there definitely are people who are keen to go back to modding the game, and we want to encourage that too. Yeah, so it was never meant to be a permanent a permanent removal, but it was done for performance reasons, and so many of the things that have happened have been for performance reasons.
Ah,
To try
okay.
and make sure the game runs the best that it can. Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting. I mean, how much effort was that to integrate? I mean, it depends probably how the modding happened, how people were integrating that. So there are like two ways to get that into the game. The one is you more or less take the mod, have a look at it, how it's done, and integrate that directly. Or it's like, okay, we want to have that feature, and how can we do that on our own? How was that done?
We use a plugin called umod that you can actually install in the Unity project, and I'm not 100% sure. I'm not the developer itself, but I'm more in the graphic side of the game. But I think you set up like specific spot that you allow people to mod different areas of the game.
Ah, okay.
And I think with the integration side, it also helped having the person who did the mod get rolled into the team to do it. So yeah, Synth Riders has always been a bit of an embrace scenario. Yeah, so the person who did the Twitch integration mod was brought into the team to help roll it into the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Synth has never been shy of bringing the right person for the job in to and understand that we don't have those skills in house. Who has those skills in house? Well, the person who did it. Let's get them involved. So it makes life a lot
Sure.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I mean, that also fits into the complete
with that
picture.
leaderboard stuff that we just did. Umbranox. We had Umbranox come and help out with that. It's like who's had experience putting together leaderboard systems? Well, Umbranox. It's not a skill set we have naturally in house. It's better to learn from someone who's had experience putting together stuff on a large scale and learn from the mistakes and bring that knowledge in house. It helps to keep the cycles really rapid too.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. I mean, that's also something. I mean, people are modding the game because they love the game and they want to improve it. So that's something that sounds pretty natural. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, modding, if that's coming back, that's probably also something.
Modding is coming back.
The noodle box is still there on the bed. You'll see that if you use the room environment, which is where I am now, the noodle box is still on the bed. It's still there. It will be back.
I haven't seen that before.
Haven't you?
Yeah, no.
That was how you used to activate the mods. Was you had to click on the noodle box.
Yeah, I was coming a little bit later to Synth Riders when the modding was already deactivated, I guess, because I didn't have to mod anything and everything was working. Yay!
Yeah. No, the noodle box was there on the bed. You click on the noodle box and it would give you the list of your mods that you needed to run, whatever you needed to bring up. So it will return.
Yeah, nice. So I have one more bullet point on my list, and that's music. Music for Synth Riders. And from what I've heard, music is especially licensing music and stuff. So that's one of the most horrible things to do, I guess. So if you
it is horrible.
So if you want to integrate music and want to sell that, what hurdles have you to overcome there to get the music into the game and be able to publish that?
You can treat that. You can handle this in different ways. It all depends. Also, the kind of artist that you want to bring, or the record label. With the Cyberpunk pack, we pretty much work with Monster Cat. And we bring a couple of artists that are not in the Monster Cat label, but it was easy for this one specifically because you handle like all the masters and sync right, which is some part of the music process that you have to go through in order to bring it to the game. But like, for example, the Electro Swing pack is something that we did like super tailored with like picking all the artists that we want and like dealing with different record labels. I think there was just one record label that has two artists that we want within the same record label, which is like, oh my God, finally.
Okay, yeah, okay. That should make things much more easy if you don't have to deal with several ones. Okay.
But it's a complex process, and it really takes time, especially because the artist takes a lot of time to like figure like what is this game or how much money I'm gonna make, or give me a presentation, or like yeah, there's like an unknown in the I will say like in the game industry overall, because not all these artists are into like games. I mean, the ones that has more exposure to games, I think, are the artists that are in Monster Cat or 99 Life or Fixed record label. But with Electro Swing Pack was like, what it was one of them that, what is VR? Like, they don't really, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but so from what you said now, is the music that's in synthesizers that's especially made for synthesizers?
No,
or have there been? Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's one, isn't there? Or
yes,
two? Because I think the Cyberpunk, that's a Synthwriters remix.
Well, it's a Synthwriter, a special remix from Etc.
The most recent.
And there's just one synthwave artist that created one song, like a special song for Synthwriters. It was a long time ago, but yeah. I mean, most of the songs are already in the market.
Okay. Yeah, okay, but after we have the song and after you took all the hurdles to be able to get that song licensed and be able to publish that, there's still something missing. The map. So how does that then work? I mean, how much have you mapped, for example, for yourself? I think because when you started the game, you were doing maps on your own first, and then later people were adapting and creating maps, but
I did all the synth wave pack, at least the version 1. It's been changing a lot because we've been adapting the old maps to be more in sync with what we're currently doing these days. And part of the fixed pack, I believe, but and I'm mapping a new song for this, the last song of the Cyberpunk with Tivo, which it was super fun because I really enjoy mapping. So it was like, okay, I've never I really stopped mapping because of time constraints. Yeah. But that's something that really it brings me inspiration and give me that space to like connect with music in a different way. So mapping is something that I would like to keep going.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. How many people are now mapping for synthwriters?
How many OST mappers or?
Well, in general, yeah, mostly for the official songs.
6. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wirrel.
And are they like working together on one song, or is every mapper doing its own style and it's on its own song?
It all depends of their styles.
But it's possible that several people are working on one map.
No, it's mostly one person, one map. Unless, but occasionally with downgrading, we might hand a downgrade between two mappers, depending on time. But it is generally one mapper.
Okay.
Some of the older stuff, some of the fix-it stuff, you might have one mapper start a map, and then another mapper has had to finish that map. But most of the newer stuff is all one mapper, one map, and they do all of the downgrades themselves as well. So
sometimes they help to each other depending on. I mean, if one of them like they finish early and we have like in a time constraint or something, so they help the other mappers.
Yeah.
And what's the typical time frame that's needed to finish a map? How long do you need to map a song? I mean, for just one difficulty, for example.
It could be with it all depends because we have the QA process as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes could be faster, sometimes could be slower. I will say like a week or two, maybe.
So, and for the complete song, because so far what I've seen, there is each difficulty mapped on each song. So how do they start? Start they with highest difficulty? Start they in the middle? Start they with easy? How is that process going?
I think all of our mappers start with the highest difficulty. The highest difficulty that's either the highest or second to highest. And it depends on the song, but a lot of the time they'll either start with the expert or the master. So they'll either start with expert and push up into master. Especially if it's a borderline song where you think this song could have a master but maybe not, because not every song's suitable for a master, depending on the tempo, BPM, what's going on in the song. So if you're looking at a song and go, I'll start with the expert because I'm not quite sure that I can get a master level out of this, or it might be a bit of a push. So they might start with the expert and then work down. And then if they feel once they've done that process, they may then be able to push upward or work with the other people in the team to push upward. And the same with master, they'll usually start with master and work down. And the hard, expert and master are the most strongly connected together. And then the normal and easy have a relationship as well. But yeah, the idea is to develop the whole lot so that the skill progression that you have going bottom up leads you to the skills. When you're starting at easy, there should be a relationship for the song all the way through, and the skills should progress going up through the difficulties. They should all be connected. That's how that works.
Oh, that's interesting because I mean, I could imagine that some difficulties could just be created by like leaving out some hits. So it makes it easier and you have more time to react and stuff, but probably that doesn't work for each difficulty. So you cannot say like start with the highest difficulty master, leave out every third note for expert, leave out every second note again for normal or so. That wouldn't, fit for the flow, I guess.
You could try it.
Yeah, okay.
You could try it. But there are things like, around that hard difficulty is when we start doing crossovers. So when we start taking notes and putting them on the opposite side, that's something where you can't just leave the every second note out. You do need to remap things from being double-handed to being single-handed to extending runs on one hand. Like an easy player doesn't want to swap hands every 5 seconds. If you've ever watched a child play the game, you know that they're not comfortable doing complicated rhythms like left, right, left, right, 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 left, right. They can't do that. They need more processing time, more thinking time. And so a lot of what we're doing in downgrading is taking a pattern that might be a complex hand changes and making them single hands. So you have longer on one hand, longer on the other hand. Because by giving a player longer on one hand, they can start to process what's coming. The changes become more obvious. So it's not just as simple as algorithmically dropping a note.
Yeah.
There is actually a lot more consideration that has to go in. And it comes into, obstacles, what you do with obstacles, whether you spirals, the complexity of spirals and patterns, like long chains of notes, the complexity has to be downgraded as well. So, there's a real style, and that's something that we're all developing with, with our lead mappers and senior mapper is this style. What is the language of synth writers? What does it mean for OST? It's kind of exciting to sort of see that language develop over time.
Yeah, that's pretty deep insight. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and the QA process is sort of a back and forth, and that's the thing is the mappers will start developing their maps. And what we've done with the last couple of packs is to do integrate QA a bit more. So it used to be a case of we get the maps to a point and then we'd hand over to a QA process, and then we'd have to be doing this back and forth. We try and start that a lot earlier now. So we're doing a lot more earlier play testing so that the mappers can see how the map looks with different players and see how it behaves in the wild, if you like. And that way we run that process simultaneously now, rather than leaving it to later.
Yeah.
Now, I'd imagine that your OST mappers are not allowed just to run up to a streamer and say, "Hey, will you play test this for me?"
No,
I'm kidding.
funnily
I'm
enough,
kidding.
no.
Of course not. Of course not. I'm kidding.
No, but we do live stream our QA. That is something that we do as a group. So quite often when it comes to QA time, we'll put up a stream and we'll stream it in mixed reality, first plays, going through the maps together, and we'll do this back and forth commentary. We'll go through and say, "Yep, okay." Or I'm, if I'm play testing, I'll go through and say, "Yep, someone remember 1 minute 30. I need to come back to this later," and we'll go back and we'll go over, we'll go over our notes and say, "Yep, this felt a bit funny." And it's a really good process. The interactive QA works really well for us as a team.
Totally.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
especially showing that then to other people live, so they can see how somebody is playing that and react, take notes, etc. That's a perfect way how to do it. I mean, how should people see what you are seeing in VR if not through a stream in mixed reality?
Mixed reality.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean,
it helps. It helps.
People are curious, even though if you've gotten a perfect on Hyper yet.
Okay.
Have you played it at all?
No, I haven't played at all.
What?
I'm curious, but I'm nervous at the same time. Like everyone's failed with that map. It might be so complex.
It is really tricky. I mean, that's why I was failing that so often, because it's still, for me, it's really tricky.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask still is, as Wirrel mentioned, it's not an algorithmic thing to like downgrade the difficulty, but there is an algorithmic thing in the game. That's the spin mod, because that's working with every song without adaptions for the song. So how tricky was that to implement that algorithmic style, and how is that, like, how you can leverage that, how you can take advantage to make the, like, on spin mode wild, how you can lead how that works, how the spin turns around, etc.
Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. That was definitely a collaborative effort between our dev team, who are amazing. That algorithm is just, it's brilliant. It's really, really good. And then the process of, again, because we did that process through streaming playtesting. So Muggins here got to play spin mode with no ghost, because its initial iteration had no ghost. The emitter just did whatever the heck it wanted. So it became very clear. It becomes really, really clear when we sort of see the first iteration.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and it's gone behind me, and I'm like, I don't know where I need to go. So it was definitely a thing that Aben had the concept. He came up with this insane concept, handed his, and he's so visual, because art is his thing, and he's so visual. He comes up with this visual idea of this animation of what's going to happen, hands that to Azzy and Justin in the dev team, and Justin goes, "Yep, I can do this," and away he goes. And then the prototype comes through, and we play it, and we go. Was Sharky said we really need to have something that helps to lead the player. That's where the ghost came from. And we had lots of back and forth and argument over that one. But I'm so glad that was the hill we chose to die on. It was good.
Yeah.
Spin mode is awesome. I mean,
part of the concept that I had in my head when we started the spin mode was like, if we want to make it like automatically, we have to determine somehow what it's in the map, like good spots to spin. That's pretty much where the concept came out. And we
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more details how that process was done.
Sorry, say it again.
Well,
I mean, finding those.
Those moments. Yeah.
Those moments, yeah. Well, it helps that the person who was doing the dev side of things is also the person who has been looking after the editor for a while. So they've got a really good intimate knowledge of map, and they're a mapper themselves. They've mapped. So they have mapped for OST. So they've got a really good understanding of that whole process of what goes into maps, how the maps are constructed, and then from the dev point of view, and we would go through, and as we would feed a map into the early stage of the algorithm, we'd go, no, we shouldn't be spinning at this point. And there are also constraints as well, like rails are a bit of a constraint, and rails interacting with cosmetic walls and walls.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of discussion early on saying, it's actually more a case of saying, when can't we spin? Rather than when can we spin. But there are points when it would be epic to spin, but the important things to know are when you shouldn't spin. And then we were tweaking it in the game. We had a couple of panels that we were able to dial up some of the numbers that were fed into the algorithm. And so important numbers like, how often. So from my perspective as the person being thrown in the washing machine, as it were, how often is comfortable to spin?
Right.
Because because if I listened to Aben, it really would have been the spin dry. It would have been crazy. But there has to be, it would have been round, just chasing a dog, chasing its tail. And little things like, making sure that the algorithm doesn't cross you over yourself. So you only ever go 360 in one direction.
Yeah.
And before you go back the other way, little things like that. So we did a fair bit of tweaking those magic numbers to work out, how much rest do you need between spins? How far can you travel comfortably? How many degrees of rotation can you travel comfortably in a second for each of the spin intensities and things like that? And actually, play testing those things and having that.
No density was another.
Note density, yeah. All those sorts of things. And then, just those sorts of concepts as we went through. So it was really good. It was kind of very much a feature that was shaped in those three different dimensions. Like the play experience was done at the same time as the algorithm was being generated and refined, at the same time as the mapping team were looking at it as well. So it was really good to have the input of all three different facets, the dev team, the mapping and editor team, and playing at the same time. And I think that's probably why it's come out so well.
The result is totally speaking for itself.
Good thing is like you are always going to have the same map because the algorithm is pretty much the same and it will react in the same way.
It's deterministic.
So it's not like you're going to have like a randomly like two different
experiences.
Experiences. And
so you can learn it. You can learn the spin. That was really important for us from the beginning. Was to make sure you could learn the spin. So it's algorithmic, not random. There's no randomness.
The fact that we have this formula really feels like someone map. It would be better if someone like handcrafted, like someone actually map it, but it gives you the illusion that it was mapped by someone somehow, because understanding these like spin moments, that where to spin, like for example, if you have like a gap in between in the map, that like it's kind of like a break in the song, but after that you actually going to start spinning. So it give you that perception that is like you turn when the music really, when it's something is happening in the music at that moment. It's not like you're randomly doing spin. It has the formula really works pretty well in that regard.
It's really awesome.
And the intent was that we didn't want to inhibit anyone's creativity, so we wanted to make sure that like for the OST, for example, we didn't want to change the maps we were creating for OST to suit spin. Spin needed to work independently. We didn't want people to have to do anything differently to normal, so we didn't with the mapping. It was really important that we didn't inhibit anyone's creativity just to suit spin. That was really important. But what we are seeing is that mappers get to understand how the spin algorithm works, and so they can map specifically for spin, and you'll see that in customs. Custom mappers are doing that now, which is kind of cool too. So once you understand how it works, you can then leverage that understanding to construct your map so that it will almost spin when you want.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. I mean, those have been the questions I had put together so far. Yeah. And this has been a very nice experience with you two guys, and live, of course. So do you have any last questions, live?
Not me.
Do you want to add something, Aben or Wirrel?
Just want to ask you to you both, because I know you guys like play a lot rhythm games. Like, what would you like to see in the future of VR rhythm games?
Linux support.
More naked people. More naked people. I think we need more naked people in visual games. Absolutely. No, I'm teasing.
Avatars. I like that Swingskate map, the background. I like that a lot. I mean, it's inspired by Neverending Story, if I got that correctly, from the movie.
The Phoenixes, yeah.
The Phoenixes?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
For me, what's next is probably
Sphinxes. Yeah.
Same thing everyone else might say, is more accurate feet involvement in the game. Sure, walls make you step one way or the other, but it would be nice that while you might have to move your hands in a certain way, you also have to have a particular stance. So the left foot has to be behind, bracing your right foot. The weight, your weight has to go on your back on your, that type of thing. I think it would be to bring more of a. I mean, right now you have people playing like Beat Saber and things like that, but that's jokey. I mean, more of a serious effort to get your feet more involved. I think that would be something I'd like to see. But kind of, unless you have full body tracking, it's kind of hard to do.
Oh, well, you can force the player to step back, to do a step forward and backward. Like if there would be something that makes the node disappear at a certain point, or you're not allowed to hit it at a certain point. So if it would disappear 50 centimeters in front of you, you would have to do a step forward. And if you know, okay, in this color, you are not allowed to hit it. So you have to step back and then it's allowed to hit it. With that, you would be able to like achieve a movement forward and back. Maybe that's also suitable for sideways, but yeah. Okay, sideways can be done with just moving it to left and right.
That concept exists in a thing called guided Tai Chi. If you haven't played guided Tai Chi, it's like Synth Riders, but really slowly.
Okay.
And because that game does force you to take steps forward, backwards, and sideways, because you have to chase where the note goes. So you're essentially trying to keep your hand in the center of a sphere, and the sphere is moving around you in 3D space. So
it's not just coming at you; it's going away from you.
Away from you, yes. Away from you, left of you, right of you, both hands. It's different and again, it's one of these interesting experiences if you haven't tried it. It's like a rhythm game, but really, really slow.
Okay. I haven't heard about that yet.
Yeah, I know it's definitely on Quest. I don't know if it's on anything other than Quest. But yeah.
Yeah, right on. Then I think we can come to a close here. And I would say
thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah.
We have to thank you. We have to thank you so much for stopping by. This was an awesome talk. Gave us some pretty nice insight into Synth Riders and stuff VR, like the medical stuff as well. That was very much interesting. So thank you so much again. Yeah. And this has been our fourth episode of the season 1 podcast, FeVR Dreams. You can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/team/FeVR, where I totally forgot to broadcast this today, but well. We have a Twitter @TeamFeVR, and we have a YouTube channel, which is a little bit difficult to write out at the moment because it has these random string, but you can find those infos on Twitter. We are posting the recording there later. And that's it. You can, I think, follow at least Wirrel. She's streaming on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Wirrel42, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Right on.
And if you do have, why can I not paste this? If you do have Twitter, make sure that you throw Synth Rider so you can keep up on what's going on with them. There's their link. Make sure you follow them on Twitter so that you know what's happening when it happens and all that kind of good fun stuff.
Yeah, it's twitter.com/synthridersvr, all one word.
Yes.
Check
We are
check them out.
Coming to the close of Synthtoberfest as well.
Ooh.
We've been having these creator challenges all month, so there'll be a new one starting every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, new challenge. And win some cash. It's always nice to win some cash. Everyone who does the creator challenge, if you've entered into, and say you've got 1 day, 2 days to go to play the first challenge. If you play every single challenge, you go into the draw to win yourself some money. So get in, get in and play. You don't have to have a top score. Just
even
play
I can take part in that.
Yes, you can. You can get in the draw. It's always worth doing. And the Gleam, we've got a Gleam going to win a Quest 2 as well. So, like I said, free stuff. Synthtoberfest.
That's
Check
noted.
it out.
Right on. Yeah, thanks so much for watching and for listening. See you all in 2 weeks again. And yeah, have a great time until then. And bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.